Can you see the screen? Hello, someone?
Yes, yes, we can see.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
Mandar,
Okay.
we can see. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So the title actually is "Can we handle and see mathematics?" Basically, that is mathematical models. So although, so let me take 2 minutes in justifying. There are two names because we can see there, Sri Prasad Tambe and Mandar Kasnis. So in fact, I have taken a good help from Sri Prasad Tambe. He has in fact he's a teacher from past 25 years, and he has in fact helped me a lot in learning mathematics and doing mathematics rather. So in short, we'll of course see, because whatever videos that we are going to see in this whole session are being shot using the models that he is having, okay, at his place. So that is one thing. Maybe due to some technical problems or issues, we could not he could not give this presentation. So I'm presenting the whole thing, but of course I'm involved in the process. But the 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 expertise, I can say, is much more than even me. Let me declare that at the beginning itself, but still I'll try my level best to give justice to the ideas that we are going to discuss today. So going ahead, to begin with, let me begin with this Chinese proverb everybody knows. That is, I hear, I forget, I see, I remember. But if I do, then I really understand. So this is very much apt basically for science and even for maths, because for maths we feel that it is quite abstract, and so understanding is quite difficult. But unlike others, like if I look at, say, other subjects, other science subjects, then there are laboratories, and people actually learn some theory in classrooms, and then in the laboratories they try to experiment and try to so called digest the whole theory that they have learned in the classroom. Now for mathematics, in fact, unfortunately, still there are very few places where this concept of mathematics laboratory is running. Basically, it is operational. So there are very few schools, in fact, which have this math lab there. Now it's coming up, but still, I'm sure that there are no much schools in which mathematics laboratory is there, whereas it is very much essential, in fact. And we will see uh, there are people, in fact, who have been working on this, and they have developed a lot of models to explain certain ideas. Many models are very much available. So we'll just this whole lecture, 1 hour session, we are going to get introduced to various mathematical, I can say, various models or games that one can use to experiment in mathematics. So mathematical experiments we can actually do through those games, through those models, through those activities. Okay, so let's see. Uh, so going ahead, the first thing first, that is, let's see who has in fact started the idea of mathematics laboratory in India. Mr. P.K. Srinivasan, a great educationist, in fact, from Chennai, was a maths teacher, and mainly he promoted the low or no cost teaching aids. Okay, low cost teaching aids, and he wrote NCERT math lab manuals as well. So he is the one who has in fact started the idea of mathematics laboratory in India. In fact. Now, just going ahead, few experiments we'll see now. So let's look at the place value. Now, this is a crucial concept, in fact, where students find difficulty, or rather, it is not being understood or digested properly. So, it's basically expressing a number. Now, this expressing a number, this question was evolved and had taken a lot of years in understanding and developing different systems of how to express a given number. So, there are different uh, places where there are different ways of expressing a given quantity. quantity, in fact. Now, in India, there is through place value system, due to the invention of zero, okay, in fact, we have a best place value number system, in fact, that is decimal number system. And then this whole system finally has been adopted by Europeans afterwards. They also even took a lot of time in appreciating that, and then finally it has been adopted. So, but then such a crucial concept, such a crucial idea, it's an important concept, and hence it has to be introduced to students very carefully. They have to, given some models or something, and then they should be able to grasp what exactly we are trying to say by expressing a number. What is the meaning of expressing a number? Why it is required? All right. So let's have a video. In fact, let's have a video and try to figure out how one can help students to understand this concept carefully. So let's see. The video has no audio as such. Now I'll pause in between. So these are just the cards. Can you see the video, by the way, everybody?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So these are just the cards, in fact, which right now it is like these are made up properly, but then it's not necessary. Even students can make it. That itself can become an activity. And now let's see how these cards can be used. So what is 121? 120. So 121, what is the meaning of that? That one can actually see by placing the cards like this. And now you can actually see it is 100, 20, and then 1. That's the idea, in fact. Let's have some more examples. 495. So 495. What is the meaning of 495? So I would like to place 4. Then there are two more digits. So those two zeros. 9 and 5 is what the number that we want to make. But when we make such a number, what we find is it's going to be something like 490 and then 5. Okay. Some more, 1729. Okay. So it's basically 1000, then 700, then 20, and then 9. 2020. What is this 2020? So this way it is the place value of, see, there are two twos involved. Now what is the place value of this first two, and what is the place value of this second two? That one should be very clear about, and that's what this activity is going to make it clarify. Now there is another which is like, which doesn't require any cards, nothing. You just take a strip, paper strip, and let's see what one can do. Okay, now here is the idea. Very simple but very innovative. go a little fast. Okay, so it's basically the number 6174, and when you open it, you know it is 6000, then 100, then 70, and then 4. So this is again a very simple hands-on by which students can actually understand the place value of the digits that are there in the given number. Okay, right. So this is one demonstration, in fact, that I wanted to do. Let me move ahead to the next. That is balance. Now, balance is something which can be used to handle lot of several concepts. In fact, so it's really a playful way to compare, to add, subtract, multiply the numbers. Of course, we'll be working with small numbers initially, but still, it's a really nice way, and students get involved in it so much. Let's have a video to understand. I'm sorry. Let's have a video to understand what I'm talking about. So, what all experiments we can do? Let me check. So, this is the model, in fact, of balance. We are trying to do experiment for comparison. So yes, you can see 6 is bigger. Now 7 is bigger, 6 is smaller. Now it's like they are at par, they are equal, 6 and 6. Experiment for addition. So look at 5 and 3. So there we have 5 plus 3 on right, and on left we are now trying to see what should be the answer. 7, it doesn't balance. 9 also, it's not balancing properly. So students, I mean, they can actually try and see what is happening. Of course, subtraction, you can see 7, and then here we are trying to remove 2 from it. So trying to find the answer now. 4, is 4 the answer? No, because it is not balancing. Is 6 the answer? Again, no, it is not balancing properly. So try out in between something. So maybe 5. Yes, it is going to work, and hence in that sense 5 is the answer. Now multiplication is again small numbers, of course, but so it is like 4 into 2. 7, it doesn't balance. 9, again, it is more, in fact. So we have to go back and let's try say 8, and it will then balance properly. So this is like a balance game, rather I can call it, which one can use, to play with it and try to learn the idea of comparison, idea of addition, idea of subtraction as well, and multiplication of small numbers as well. So for small numbers, at the initial stage, we can introduce this balance game, and children can actually play with it, and that is the way they can actually learn the ideas. Now carryovers is something uh, which they find, students find difficult, people find it difficult to deal with when, say for example, when we are adding or subtracting. So it is like many times it is simply told that it's a rule that whenever it is more than say 10 or 100, you just have to add 1 to the previous digit, something like that. So no feeling basically of what is going on. Students are not getting the proper feeling of what is going on, and hence basically they find it a bit difficult of while understanding. Or I mean, it becomes a rule, and step 1, step 2, step 3, you will get the answer. Step 1, step 2, step 3, you will get the answer. But behind the scene, what is actually happening? Why we are performing such steps? That many times it is not clear to the children, and hence it becomes difficult to to get a grip on what is happening. So let's have some experiments. Let me show you this video to you know uh, get the idea of it. So this is a strip of 10 cubes, small such cubes. So now let's see. So we have taken one 10 and two ones. So it represents 12. Now we have taken two tens and four ones. So it represents 24. Now let's add. So while adding, I'm adding the strips together, single cubes together. And what we find is there are three tens and six ones. So 36 is the answer. Let's see some more numbers, in fact. So in the earlier example, there was no carry or anything like that. Now let's try this 110 and 7 ones we are taking. The other number is two tens and three ones we are taking. So 23. Now when we add, what is going to happen is, look at these ones. If we take them together, like this, they are forming a full strip, in fact. Right. So they are forming a full strip and no one is left. So four tens I have got, and no one. So answer is going to be 40. Now this is going to really help in understanding the carryovers. If we give children these two boxes and ask them to play with it is really useful, and they can actually understand what is the meaning of carryover, right? So this is one very beautiful model that one can go for. And there is, of course, there is nothing uh, great about these typical models. We can create the models at our home as well, using certain objects. Okay, so that can be done. Carryovers can be handled in this way. Now there is a idea of geoboard. Geoboard is something which looks something like this. It's basically, Gatigno is the one who has invented this geoboard around 1953 or something. This it's a simple idea as such. The geoboard means it is, one can take a plywood basically, or a ply, and we put the nails there, or screws basically, at a fixed distance, like rangoli what we do, that is what we should be doing, in fact, and try to get a mess, in fact. Okay, so once you do that, then it's like a lot of things we can explore using a geoboard. This board basically is called as the geoboard, and using this geoboard we can explore several things, in fact. So let's see one by one what all things we can explore through geoboard. So first point that I can observe immediately is it's a simple looking kind of object, and few concepts I can say is like 2D shapes we can learn. Like we can learn triangles, we can learn rectangles, pentagon, what are triangles, what are rectangles. We can learn that. Even to learn area and perimeter, this can be used. We'll see how. So first what I will do is I will get into this link and try to see the video, and then we will come back to the discussion. So let's see this video of how we can learn these concepts using a geoboard. Okay, let's see what this video is. So they just have to use a rubber band and try to create several shapes. triangle, pentagon, of course not regular, but we can create a pentagon or any other shape, in fact, any polygon as such, and try to ask what should be the area. So, for example, let's look at this itself. If I'm looking at this shape, if I ask what is the area of this particular shape, then what one has to count basically is the squares which are present in between. So area is actually counting of squares in a sense, for simple objects at least like polygons. So that one can actually get a feel of it, and like for this case we can see that one square, this is another square. Now these two triangles are going to make one more square. So three squares here, and this is half. So using geoboard, of course area we are talking about, but at the same time we can even talk about fractions as well. Okay, or one can also even introduce tables using geoboard. Okay, so it's a, I mean, lot of things one can learn simply by the use of geoboard. And I'm really fascinated by this idea of area, finding the area, because you form any kind of a shape. Say for example, I can do this, join this, then join this, okay, and join this. Will we be able to get the area of such a triangle if I assume this distance is one centimeter? Maybe if I take this as 1 centimeter, am I in a position to get the area of this triangle? Now this, even somebody can help me out. If I ask this question, can we solve this? Hello, थोडं इंटरॅक्टिव्ह झालं तर बरं होईल.
You are audible. You are audible.
Yeah, but can you try to answer my question? Sorry. So my question is like, can we think about getting the area of such a triangle that I have drawn, assuming this is 1 unit distance, 1 centimeter, for example? How do I get the area of such a triangle? Anyone from the audience would like to say something? Then please, you are welcome. Otherwise, I will. See, I'm just saying we can. Students can
Hello.
actually explore. Yeah, yeah. Please, somebody.
Can we complete the rectangle, big rectangle we can make first of
Yes, right, right. Thank you
all. And
so
from
much.
there we will subtract this part triangular
Yes,
and then
yes,
this triangular part. So this remaining triangle will be there.
yes, yes. Exactly. What I can do is I can complete this full rectangle. Now this rectangle has area. We know this is 1 and this is 2. So this rectangle has area 2 centimeters square, and hence now this triangle is half of it basically. If I look at this triangle, it is half. That means it is 1 unit square. And now look at this triangle, inner one. This is half of the square that I have. So square has got area 1, and hence this is again half. All right. So this triangle was 1 minus this inner triangle is half. So the area of the required triangle is in fact 1/2 units. Right. So this is how, it is very interesting to explore the idea of area through geoboard, in fact. Now, not only that, once such a rectangular geoboard has got invented, then there are more experiments which got evolved, and there are circular geoboards that also then came into existence to learn properties of circles. Now, let me list two interesting properties of circles. Like first one, if I simply write, let's read and see whether we can digest it. The angle at the center of a circle is double of an angle at the circumference standing on the same arc. And the second one may be much easy to digest immediately. The angle in a semicircle is a right angle. Both these properties everybody must have seen at some or the other situation, but if I want to actually understand what these properties are, then let's see what one can do. So one can actually experiment and experience the properties, and then we can get into the statements. So instead of telling the statements to the children first, what we can ask them is to do this first. And so this is what we are talking about. So look at this arc, and these are the 2 points that we are talking about, and now join these 2 points by to the center. So this angle gets created. Okay, this angle is double of the angle made with the point in on the circumference, the corresponding point on the circumference. Okay, so this angle, smaller one, is half of the bigger angle. Okay, right. Now moving further, so this is first property. The second property is, again, we know, but then if they experiment actually by this, so take any two diametrically opposite points and then form such a triangle, and you can actually measure this angle. It is going to be 90 degrees wherever you place this rubber band 2. Wherever you place it, students can actually measure the angle and confirm that it's 90 degrees. Of course, this is not the proof, but this is the way they can understand the statements. Then yes, rigorous proof is very much essential, and which everybody teaches. But before we get into the rigorous proof, what what is going to help the students out is such experiments to understand the statements first carefully, and then the proof can be introduced to them. Okay, so this is again very uh, useful kind of a idea, that is geoboards. So geoboards can be created, and one can use geoboards very effectively in teaching, in explaining these ideas. In fact, okay, so that is about, in fact, geoboard. Now this is a Jodo kit. Jodo kit is actually uh, the name of a game that is available, and it can be used as an educational toy, I can say, to create 3D shapes. So what it consists of is, it consists of these connectors and these straws, I can say. So it consists of only that, straws and the connector. So connectors with four, openings, or three openings, or maybe five openings. So such a kit is, available. And how can we use these kits? So 3D shapes, in fact, there are two very famous, I can say, concepts that are there as far as 3D shapes are concerned, 3D objects are concerned. One is Platonic solid. So already I think this has been mentioned earlier in some of the other lecture, but still let me understand what is Platonic solid. So Platonic solids are those solids for which all faces are congruent, regular polygons. So like this is not Platonic solid, because this has one face as square and the other face is not a square. This face is a triangle. If this doesn't happen, if every face is a square, I can say it is a Platonic solid. Okay. Now students actually can be asked, once they can understand the face, and they can understand what is the meaning of square, what is the meaning of a triangle, equilateral triangle, and what is the meaning of congruent. Now congruent means it should be exactly fitting into the other. So then we can simply ask them to explore. We can give them the whole kit and ask them that try to form as many Platonic solids as you can. Okay. Now, for example, let's take an example through a video. platonic solid. So this is a beginning using a kit. We are trying to form the solid. I can go a little fast. So this is the way you can join, and so he's trying for platonic solid which involves pentagons. So it's going on now. Maybe it is more than halfway done, and he's going ahead trying to construct the pentagons everywhere. Yeah, now it is almost over, and we can see this. Yes, this is a platonic solid, in fact, that is being created, which is consisting of a pentagon. Now, like that, we can ask them, what about, say, from a square? What about from a hexagon? What about from a triangle? Interestingly, whatever they make, ultimately, one can get a feel that there are exactly five platonic solids that one can make. Now, this, of course, this is being proved. This statement has been proved, in fact, but we are not going to go for the proof of the statement, but at least to get them a feeling that these are the only ones that you can create. This is a really nice experiment that one can do. So it's like a kind of a game or a challenge that they can be given, and through that they can actually get a feel that however way, whichever way you try to construct, satisfying this property, all faces are congruent regular polygons, you will end up in one of those five platonic solids only. Okay, so that is something very interesting. Otherwise, if we simply state that these are platonic solids and there are only five, um, that exists, there can be any other platonic solid other than these five solids. If we simply declare them, then it is not uh, going to get appreciated much. But when they actually try it out and end up in, getting only five amongst these five only, if they are getting, then that is really much more understanding about the platonic solids. The similar idea is there about Archimedean solids. Now let's first learn what is the difference. So the difference is this, congruent word is basically removed. Okay, so this, I can say that it is going to be Archimedean. So congruent word is removed. I may not have all regular polygons same. They may not be, but they should be regular polygons, and the vertices are identical. So at any vertex you are going to have, say, three squares and one triangle. So such a thing is being formed everywhere. So if such a property is satisfied, then such a solid is called as Archimedean solid. Now let's have a look at one video about Archimedean solid. So he's trying to construct the one solid which is supposed to be Archimedean. So the condition is what? The condition is all the faces should be regular polygons. They need not be congruent. So congruent is not necessary. These are the conditions that one can declare and then ask them to form whichever way you want to form, you form. Okay. this is like going on. So he's trying to use the triangle and the square, equilateral triangle and the square, and trying to construct the Archimedean solid. The one which actually I think was shown in the picture. That's what he's trying to make. So it's in the process. And so you can actually see it is really a good way of exploring the idea of solids. In fact. By the way, this was his final attempt. Maybe a couple of attempts were involved. Yeah. So finally, yes, here it is. It's done. Now let me disclose again some facts about Archimedean solids. Interestingly, there are exactly 13 amongst them. Of course, excluding Platonic solid and all. So if you remove those, so there are exactly 13 Archimedean solids. Now, what does that again? That means that we can say you make this. This is the condition. You try to make the solid which satisfies this condition, and then one can actually observe that it fits into those 13 that are available. Okay, so that is really interesting thing for them also to enjoy that. Oh, whatever way, whichever way I'm trying, ultimately I'm ending up in
Sir,
these
excuse me, sir.
13. Ah, sorry. Yeah, please tell.
What is anti-prism?
Anti-prism means even I need to gather that information. So even I'm not having any good idea about it. Prasadada, can you throw some light on anti-prism? Let's see how prism looks like. So maybe it is. We need to actually search and.
Because I heard this word
Uh,
prism,
uh,
I know, but
yeah,
anti.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So maybe it is. It is like joining those from the bottom also. Maybe that might be the one. Uh, Even I'm not having any good idea about it. I'm just including it in the just to say there are some exclusions. So I've just included it in my list. So I means the main point I wanted to say is the Archimedean solids are again 13, and when they actually try, they will end up in one of those only. So that experiment one can do with using Jodo kit. Yeah, well, I'll get back to anti-prism. One need to search. I'm so sorry that I'm not in a position to answer your question right now.
It's okay, sir. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Thanks. Going ahead, this is another model of Platonic solids. As I said, there are 5 Platonic solids. These are wooden Platonic solids, in fact. So whatever Platonic solids they try to make here, they will end up in getting shapes like one of these 5 only. So that is what I'm trying to say, that let them try at their end, but they will end up in amongst these only. So that is one thing about Jodo kit. Now moving ahead to the sum of the interior angles of a triangle and quadrilateral. Now this is also, it is directly told that if we look at the interior angles of a triangle, the addition is 180. Or if we look at the interior angles of a quadrilateral, the addition is 360. But mm, students really find the proofs abstract and hence difficult. So before one goes to the proofs, what helps them to understand, because you simply draw a triangle and say that yeah, these 3 angles, any triangle if you draw, these 3 angles add up to 180. So if this has got no clue why they will add up to 180 basically. So one needs to understand the statement first carefully and then get into the proof. So that can be much easier to understand. So let's have certain models that are available which helps, and then these models are, there is nothing great. One can create these models at home as well. So these are models made up of, wooden models, but we can create it at our level as well. So look at this. We are trying to show for a triangle that the sum is 180. Yeah. Now this, what I mean is, I'll just go back. And this is a wooden model as such, but we can simply cut a triangle from say a cardboard and simply make any cut. This is just a random cut, in fact, where they are uh, meeting at single point inside. So any such cut you make and then apply this procedure. So they can actually see when they join those three angles, it's a straight line, and hence that's nothing but 180. Now same job can be done for a quadrilateral as well. Cut a quadrilateral first of a cardboard and then cut it into 4 pieces like this. You can actually see that yes, when I join them together, a circular shape is getting formed, and no gaps are there in between, and hence it's going to be, the sum is going to be 360. So this is one thing. There is another model that one can show, which is little more, I can say, sophisticated in a sense. You will see why. Again, this foam is not necessary. We can have it simply from of a cardboard, and you join them, it forms a half circle, right? Or even for a quadrilateral, what one can do is get those angles cut from all 4 points and then join. It forms a circle. Now, see this, as I said, it's not like one has to use these models. One can actually create. What I said is, you simply use a compass, keep it over here, take some distance, and draw an arc on all 3 points. Simply draw an arc. Okay. See, what we can ask is, we can ask the children to take a triangle first, any random triangle, and then draw these arcs, 3 arcs from these 3 vertices, and then ask them to cut these. All right, and then when they join, they can actually see that half circle is getting created. So you don't need these models, but these are giving us the idea of how these theorems can actually be appreciated first, and then one can enter into the abstract proof, which is very much necessary, because what we are doing here is just verifying the statements through some triangles that we are working with. Okay, so this is something one can go for. Now, Pythagorean theorem is something which we have already discussed so many times. We know that Indians were knowing it, Chinese were knowing it much before Pythagoras. In fact, Madam has already discussed this, that it is very much available in Bodhayan, Shulva Sutra. What I wanted to say is, let's look at this activity, very innovative activity, in fact. So look at this model. This is a right angle triangle. Base is A, the height is B, and this is the hypotenuse C. Okay. Now this is a square that is getting formed below. You can see that its area is going to be A square because one of the side is A. The another square is having a side B, and hence its area is B square. Now let's have a look at the idea. I think you must have already guessed what is going to happen. So you take those pieces, and it's kind of a puzzle. It makes it more interesting. Try to arrange them in such an order. Try to fill up the whole square, and now you can see that the area of this square is C square, but that is simply B square and A square addition, because the pieces are being taken from here, and hence we can actually see that A square plus B square is C square. This is just one illustration of Pythagoras theorem. Again, I repeat, this model can be certainly created even at our home using cardboards and all. Yes. Right. Yeah. Now, Tower of Brahma. This is again a very interesting puzzle. Okay, by which we can learn lot of concepts of mathematics. Tower of Brahma. Some of you might have already heard of it and maybe played as well. So, Tower of Brahma, what it is? It is also known as Tower of Hanoi. Rather, it is known as Tower of Hanoi in many of the books. It is known as Tower of Hanoi, but uh, even Indians were having this towers at Kashi. I'll tell you. By the way, Lucas in 1883 he has reinvented this puzzle, and from that, and he called it Tower of Hanoi, and then a lot of more mathematics got involved. Now, in at Vishwanath Temple, Kashi, there are three rods like this. You can see in the diagram. Such rods are very much there, and these three pillars, and there are 64 discs. What one has to do, one does is shifts one disc at a time. Okay, the priest basically what he does is he shifts one disc at a time, and with the rule that smaller disc should be put on the larger one only. So you cannot put a larger disc on the smaller disc. So there are some discs that are put in one of the pillar, and now the point is I would like to move all these discs basically all these discs into one of these two other pillars. The question is how many minimum moves are needed to do this work. So the work is now in this case in this photograph there are four discs that are there. I want to transfer all these four discs into say this rod, this pillar, with the condition that at a time I can move one disc only, and smaller disc should go on bigger disc. Bigger disc cannot go on the smaller disc. That's the condition. So how many minimum moves are needed? Now again, as you can see this, there is a hands-on available. So we'll see slowly and we'll actually see how many moves as well. So at the beginning, you can see that one move has already been played. Two discs we are just talking about. And this is the second move and third move. And we have got two discs shifted into from here to here. Okay, so for two discs, we can see that there are three steps needed. Let me go for say three discs. So one step, step two, step three, step four, step five, step six, and step seven. So seven steps were needed for shifting three discs. But can you see something? The point is the shifting. What is happening actually is so at the initial stage, when all three discs are here, what we do is these two discs, first two discs, we would like to shift it into one of these two first. Then the disc at the end, we would like to shift it into the other pillar that is available like this. Let's see. So let's now play it again. Here it is. Here it is. Now, yes, here I have got two discs shifted at this pillar. Now I am moving this and putting it over here. Now again these two I have to shift them back over here. So same moves, and yeah, here I am done. So total steps are 7. Now what you can guess what is going to happen. On similar lines, if there are 4 discs, first 3 discs I would like to move to say one of these two pillars, then move this last disc somewhere which is available, and then those 3 again move them back to this pillar. All right, so let's see how it can happen. So yeah, here is the place where 3 discs are being moved at this pillar. Now move this disc, and now what? Now again these 3 we have to put them on this. So we know how to move 3 disks in the earlier discussion. We know that. So apply those steps again and again, and you can write. Okay, so can be experimented. But then there are a lot of things that one can actually explore over here, like pattern recognition. Pattern recognition means what? Or maybe I can also talk about induction at the same time. What the meaning is, if I am talking about, say, 2 disks, then we saw that there are 3 steps. I can write 3 steps. Okay. Now, if I have 3 disks, then how many steps basically among these 3 disks, the upper 2 disks, I want to move them into another pillar. That required 3 steps. Plus, now the lowest disk, so there are 3 disks, 2 disk move kar diya humne, we have moved 2 disks. So the disk which is remaining, I have to move that also and keep it on the another pillar. That is 1 step. And then those 2 disks again, I have to keep it on this lower biggest disk that I have. So again, moving 2 disks means I have 3 more steps to do, and hence we have got 7 steps required to move 3 disks from one pillar to the other pillar. All right. 4, then it is similar. Now I have to move 3 disks first, upper 3 disks. So 3 disk move karne ke liye we know 7 steps. So 7 steps plus the lowest disk that is remaining, I have to move it. Plus now those 3 disks, I have to keep them on this. So again, 3 disks means 7 steps. So total I am going to have 15 steps. Right? So that is like there is some pattern. For 2 answer is 3, for 4 answer is 7, for for 3 answer is 7, for 4 answer is 15. Can you recognize the pattern and tell me the answer for 5? Or of course one can experiment for 5. At least here you can recognize this pattern, you can recognize. So for 5 it's going to be 15 plus 1 plus 15. So that's going to be 31. So for 5 the answer is going to be 31, and so on. So such pattern recognition can be taught to them. Induction means actually how I can talk about in general, say maybe for a kth disk. Can you guess something, that how many steps are needed? That is something like kind of induction. But now we can actually guess one more thing, that is this 3 can be written as 2 square minus 1. 7 I can declare it as 2 cube, that is 8 minus 1. 15 we can observe it is 2 raised to 4 minus 1. 2 raised to 4 is 16, 16 minus 1 is 15. 31 is actually 2 raised to 5 minus 1. 32 minus 1, that is 31. So you can see that this has got a straight connection with the number of disks. So if there are k disks, one can observe that we expect how many moves? 2 raised to k minus 1 moves. All right. So if there are 64 disks, then if we even move 1 move per second, still, so actually how many steps are required? 2 raised to 64 minus 1. These many steps are required to move those 64 disks from one pillar to the another pillar. All right. Now even if we move per second, every second we make one move, still there are these many billion years that are needed. Now it is actually said that when all disks will get shifted, the whole world will get collapse or something. Jagbudi वगैरे असं म्हटलं जातं. But we know that it is going to take so many years, and so that's the mathematics behind it. Not only this, recurrence relation is something that can be taught. I think I'm running behind the time. So powers of two, yes, we can teach powers of two. Geometry progression, history and culture we can discuss, because this is very much there even in India, uh, and so we can even talk about that. One more part is the, this very important thing that I wanted to share with you all is Dr. Arvind Gupta. He has, devoted his whole life in creating several low cost, or rather no cost models, to do experiments, not just in mathematics but in science as well, in several understanding several concepts. If you go to, I'm sure many of you might have already been knowing this name. I'm just mentioning it. Why I'm mentioning it over here? Because he has given one idea of how to make a Tower of Hanoi or Tower of Brahma puzzle. Simply, you take a sleeper, say gone sleeper, rubber you can take, sole, the upper part you just throw it out, belts you can throw them out, and then to that rubber you can put three sticks. Okay, make holes by nails and put three sticks, and these discs can be made simply from a cardboard, right? And you can make your own Tower of Hanoi or Tower of Brahma puzzle, right? So there are many innovative, very low cost ideas that are available on this arvindguptatoys.com, this website. In fact, the one that I showed for place value, the idea of using a paper and then folding it up in such a way to realize what that uh, number is. This idea also is being explained by Arvind Gupta in one of his videos. It is there. So please have a visit to this arvindguptatoys.com if you are more curious about it. Now, going ahead, birthday cards is something one can prepare. This actually is talking about powers of two. Okay. Now, I'm not explaining how these are being made, but one can give these to the children and ask them to guess the birthday of anyone. Now, for example, suppose I can ask somebody that can somebody play with me? So anyone who can, let's do it in 2 minutes quickly, because this is interesting to show actually instead of me explaining it. So any volunteer who can help me out? Hello. I just want you to say, tell me your birthday is on in which of the cards. That's what I want somebody to tell me. Like,
Second card.
okay, second, and it must be in more than one card. Yeah.
Number of the card also I have to tell, huh?
In which cards?
No, only in second card I can find.
Okay, it's not there in any of the cards, any
No,
other cards. Okay,
no.
then your birth date is 4.
Yes, yes, correct.
So it's basically, suppose somebody says that it's say maybe 11, then you just see 11 is there in which cards and
Mhm.
add up these numbers. One, so you if you observe carefully, these are the powers of two. The
Oh.
first number is the power of two, and
Mhm.
what we are using to prepare these cards is binary expansion of numbers. So
Mhm.
forget, we need not tell the students basically binary expansion of numbers, but we can ask them to guess the birthday very easily by adding these numbers. So suppose somebody says 11 is in this, then 11 is in this, and 11 is in this. So you simply add 1 plus 2 plus 8. You are going to end up at 11. Okay. So this is how children can actually enjoy addition
And then
And
how other numbers are selected? How they are written? Other numbers?
yeah, that is why it is actually using binary expansion of the numbers. So you just look at, say, for example, 3. Then how I can write 3? 2 raised to 1
Plus one,
plus,
okay, got it.
means using that we are placing those numbers in respective, like list respective cards. So I have 2 raised to 0, so it will come in this, and 2 raised to 1, so it will come in this also, and it won't come in any of the other cards. Like that, for each number you see its binary expansion, that is powers of 2 expansion, and then whichever powers are present of 2, in those cards that number will be present. Is that okay? That is binary expansion, but anyway, that we may not be able to tell to the students initially. Yes, we can slowly then, uh, as they grow, they can learn these cards and the idea more even afterwards. So this is just I wanted to show as a game, maybe for addition, for learning powers of 2 at least. Okay. Then next part is interesting sums. Now I'll just go fast. This is typical question, in fact, and you all must be knowing the story of Gauss at the age when he was, say, I think in third standard. His teacher has been asked the class to make them to give them some work so that the teacher can do his or her work. So it is being told that you add this 1 plus 2 plus 3. Please add first 100 numbers. All right, that was being given as the task, so that children will keep quiet for a lot of time, because they will take time in addition. But Gauss got the answer very quick, very fast, and basically what he did is he added the first and the last, so it is 101. Then second and second last, so 2 and 99, so again the addition is 101. Third and third last, that is 3 and 98, so addition is 101, and so on. The last pair is going to be something like 50 and 51, that gets added, and you are again going to get 101. And now how many such pairs are there that are available? So there are 50 pairs, and hence the multiplication that gives me the answer. Okay, so but then problem is, how do I get a general formula for? So let me disclose the formula, and then, so the formula actually we all might be knowing. Some or the other time we encounter such things, n into n plus 1 by 2. But now how to appreciate this, how to get this through some experiments. So let's have a small video, quick video of which explains this. So you look at 1, then 1 plus 2, 1 plus 2 plus 3, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. So this is 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. Okay. Now what you do is you place that in this way, and what gets formed is a rectangle basically, which has area 5 into 6. All right, 5 into 6 is the area. But now when I place that 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, it gets placed properly, okay, one above the other. That means it is like I have to divide by 2 to get the answer, and hence we can see over down here the addition is 5 into 6 divided by 2. That's what n into n plus 1 divided by 2 in general. So one can experiment here also, and try to actually observe the statement. Observe the statement, I'm saying. We are not proving anything here. So this is one model that I thought I should be showing you. This is also interesting. Sum of first n odd numbers. So it is 1, then 3. Next odd number is 3. So again a square is being formed, and we can see 1 plus 3 is 2 square, that is 4. Now 1 plus 3 plus 5 is again a square that is going to get formed. You can see here, this is 3 by 3 square, and so it is 9, but it is on the other hand 1 plus 3 plus 5. So 1 plus 3 plus 5 is simply 3 into 3, 3 square. So like that it goes. When I attach 7, it's again a square, 4 square. Now let me go a little fast. And you can see that it is 1 plus 2 plus 3 so on up to, if I go up to say 10 or 19, I'm going to get 10 cross 10 square. Okay. So this is again a model which talks about some of the first odd numbers, first 10 odd numbers. Now this, let's see the video directly. 1 square plus 2 square plus 3 square, what it is. So can you see this represents 1 square plus 2 square plus 3 square plus 4 square. This object represents 1 square plus 2 square plus 3 square plus 4 square. Now going ahead, take total 6 such objects. Okay, so each one of them is 1 square plus 2 square plus 3 square plus 4 square. Each one of them. So I have 6 into that. Now join them. Join them in such a way. And what is getting formed? Let's see. Yeah, so I got a cuboid and it has got dimensions 4 by 5. This is 4 by 5 by 9 in fact. Okay, and hence we can actually get the formula n into n plus 1 into 2n plus 1 divided by 6 will be the sum of the squares of first n numbers. So actually this is one illustration. It's of course for n equal to 4, but in general the formula I can just disclose for those who don't have any idea. n plus 1, 2n plus 1 divided by 6. So if n is 4, then it is 4 into 5 into 9. 2 into 4 plus 1, 9 divided by 6. That's what the thing is. But just to mention, these summations are both being discussed and answered in Aryabhatta's Aryabhatiya. This is what I thought I must mention. Now there are some models, but these links I'll post. These are actually videos which are prepared by Gitanjali madam, and again, it is illustrations using wooden models. Now, just to end, the models basically are being purchased from this Vikram Sarabhai Community Science Center. NCERT kits are also available. See, all these three, this Jodo kit and balance is from the Navnirmiti group. All these three of them are like, they are not profit earning people. They are actually developing certain tools which are really useful in developing the mathematics laboratories, in fact, in our country. So I thought I must mention this. And now next thing I should be doing is, of course I'm thankful to everyone